She grew up in a 123-room mansion. A bowling alley. A gift wrapping room. A permanent staff. Her father was worth $600 million. He left her $800,000. And in 2023, she was living in an RV in a parking lot in Ventura County, with 5 children. This is not a story about being spoiled. This is not a story about recklessness. This is something far darker, far older, and far more common than anyone wants to admit. This is the story of what happens when a father builds a floor so solid, so permanent, so total, that his daughter never learns what it feels like to stand on her own ground. And by the time she needed to, he was already gone. Aaron Spelling was not just a TV producer. He was an architect of American fantasy. Dynasty. Charlie's Angels. Beverly Hills 90210. The Love Boat. Melrose Place. Charmed. His name appeared in the credits of more hours of American television than perhaps any other single human being in the history of the medium. Not dozens of shows. Not hundreds of episodes. Thousands. The number becomes abstract if you stare at it too long. By the time Tori was born, May 16, 1973, in Los Angeles, Aaron Spelling was already wealthy. By the time she was walking, he was powerful. By the time she was in elementary school, receiving acting lessons he paid for, he was something the entertainment industry only produces once a generation. Irreplaceable. The Spelling Manor was the physical expression of everything he had accumulated. 123 rooms in Holmby Hills, one of the most exclusive addresses in a city built entirely on the concept of exclusivity. There was a bowling alley. A room dedicated exclusively to wrapping gifts. Staff members whose entire professional lives were organized around the maintenance of a single family's comfort. When visitors described the property, they reached instinctively for words that belonged to another century. Manor. Estate. Compound. Tori grew up inside all of it, as though it were simply the natural texture of existence. And here is where the story becomes complicated. Quietly. Invisibly complicated. In the way that all truly consequential complications begin. Because Aaron Spelling loved his daughter. There is no serious argument against that. The acting lessons at 6. The role on his show. The access, the protection, the world he constructed around her like a father building walls against weather. But love expressed through unlimited provision teaches a particular lesson. Not a cruel lesson. Not an intentional one. But a lesson nonetheless. It teaches that the floor will always hold. It teaches that when resources run low, more will materialize. That the gap between wanting and having is something other people navigate, not you. That the name attached to you, the name on the building, the name in the credits, the name that makes rooms go quiet, will always carry weight in the places that matter. What it cannot teach is what happens when the man who built the floor is gone. Aaron Spelling suffered a severe stroke in April of 2006. He died on June 23 of that same year. He was 83 years old. His estate was estimated at somewhere near $600 million. Tori received $800,000. Her brother Randy received $800,000. The rest went to their mother, Candy Spelling. Pause on that number. Not because $800,000 is small in any ordinary context, it isn't. But because of the ratio. Because of what it represents against the backdrop of $600 million. Because of what it says, implicitly and without appeal, about what Aaron Spelling believed his children needed versus what he believed his wife deserved. Or perhaps, and this interpretation is quieter, darker, and harder to dismiss, about what he believed his daughter was capable of managing. There are people who will tell you Aaron Spelling knew exactly what he was doing. That he had watched Tori's relationship with money closely enough to understand that a larger inheritance would not have saved her. It would simply have extended the runway before the same collision. That he loved her precisely by limiting what he left her. And there are people who will tell you that a man who builds 123 rooms in Holmby Hills and gives his daughter $800,000 is not making a financial calculation. He is making a statement about trust. About judgment. About who, in the end, he believed could be counted on to steward what he had spent his life creating. The truth, as it almost always does in families, probably contains both, and resolves neither. Tori had earned real money. Beverly Hills 90210 ran from 1990 to 2000. A decade on one of the most watched shows in American television history, a show her own father produced. Her salary over that run is estimated at somewhere between $5 and $8 million. Real money. Serious money by any ordinary measure. But here is where the architecture of the collapse reveals itself most clearly. The money Tori Spelling earned was real. The life Tori Spelling learned to inhabit was something else entirely. The two had never been designed to correspond. She had been raised in the Spelling manner. 123 rooms. A staff. A bowling alley. Not as a luxury she was aware of as extraordinary, but as the ordinary texture of existence. As the baseline. As the answer to the question, what does a home feel like? When you are raised inside that answer, you do not learn to ask the question differently. You do not learn to calibrate. You do not learn the specific skill, and it is a skill, learned through exposure, through watching others practice it, through being held responsible for small amounts before being trusted with large ones, of matching your expenditure to your actual resources, rather than to the resources that surrounded your formation. This is not a moral failing. It is a design flaw. One that Aaron Spelling, whatever his intentions, built directly into his daughter's education. By 2013, that design flaw had become a matter of public record. She said it herself, in print, in a memoir that required a particular brand of courage, or a particular brand of desperation, or perhaps both simultaneously. She admitted she was broke. That credit cards had become load-bearing walls. That the life she was living and the income she was generating had stopped corresponding to each other in any sustainable way. The public received this with the particular cocktail of sympathy and schadenfreude that celebrity financial confessions always produce. There was concern. There was judgment. There was the inevitable chorus of people who had never met her, explaining with great confidence exactly where she had gone wrong. What almost no one asked, not loudly, not in the places where it might have made a difference, was the more structural question. Not how did she spend it, but what was she given to work with. By 2017, creditors filed. Banks moved. The legal record accumulated in the patient, indifferent way that debt always accumulates when avoidance has run its course. The names on the filings were not abstract institutions. The amounts were specific. The trajectory was specific, and still, she kept working. Reality television. Guest appearances. Podcast episodes. Book projects. The particular hustle of a woman who was once a household name and who understands, with a clarity that has no sentiment left in it, that visibility is the only currency she still generates reliably. Not enough. Never quite enough. She married Dean McDermott in 2006. The same year Aaron Spelling died. The same year the $800,000 inheritance arrived and the $600 million question settled into permanent silence. They had 5 children together. They built a life, or attempted to build one, that cameras documented in reality television specials and tabloids documented in the spaces between. There were separations, reconciliations, public admissions of private disasters. The specific grinding exhaustion of a marriage that had become a performance of itself. In March of 2024, Tori filed for divorce. 18 years. 5 children. And when the settlement was finalized in November of 2025, the same month the IRS debt was publicly confirmed, because the universe has a talent for consolidating its punishments, there was no spousal support. Custody of the 4 minor children, shared. She walked away from 18 years of marriage with no financial support from the man who had been her partner through the worst of the financial spiral. She was on her own. Entirely. For the first time. The photographs from 2023 had already established what that looked like in practice. A motel in Ventura County, where she and the children stayed after leaving a rental house she could no longer maintain. And then the image the internet could not stop circulating. A recreational vehicle parked in a lot. Tori Spelling. 51 years old. 5 children. Living in the machine Americans rent for vacation when they want the temporary experience of displacement. Hers was not temporary. The internet processed this in a specific register. Initial shock. Followed quickly by the particular cruelty of public judgment. Followed occasionally, not always, but occasionally, by something resembling recognition. Because the distance between Tori Spelling's story and a great many other American stories is not as vast as it might appear from the outside. The specific numbers are hers alone. The manor, the inheritance, the Beverly Hills zip code, those details belong to a particular stratum of experience that most people will never inhabit. But the fundamental dynamic underneath them, the belief that the floor will hold, the slow, devastating education in the difference between wealth witnessed and wealth owned, the way a father's love expressed as provision can leave a child genuinely unprepared for the world outside his protection, that dynamic is not rare. That dynamic is not exotic. That dynamic is one of the oldest stories money tells about itself. By November of 2024, she had moved into a rental home in Calabasas. $12,000 per month. An address. A roof. A place that was not a parking lot. Her monthly income is estimated somewhere between $3,000 and $75,000, depending on which projects materialize in any given month. That range, that enormous vertiginous range, is itself the story. Not a salary. Not a structure. A variable. A monthly negotiation between what she can generate and what the world in which she is trying to raise 5 children actually costs. Her 17-year-old son made a joke on social media. His mother should sell photographs of her feet online, he said, to pay the bills. The internet laughed. Some people cringed. Most did a little of both. Tori addressed it publicly. She said she had seen the joke. She said she was not angry. And then she said something that deserves far more attention than the joke that preceded it. She said she had known, before her father died, that the inheritance would be limited. She had made her peace with it. She had told herself the number was what it was and she would work with what she had. But she had hoped. She used that word specifically. Hoped. Not for more money. Not for a different number in the will. Something harder to name. Something in the category of being seen clearly by the man who built the palace. Who paid for the acting lessons. Who put her on his show. And found her, worthy of a different kind of trust. What does it cost a person to carry that hope for decades? Through a decade on a hit television show. Through a marriage. Through 5 children. Through mounting debt and creditor filings and motel rooms and a recreational vehicle in a parking lot, still carrying the original question underneath all of it. Did he know what he was leaving me to face? And if he knew, did he believe I could handle it? There is no answer. There will never be an answer. Aaron Spelling is gone. The will is what it is. The $600 million passed in the direction it passed. The $800,000 ran out. The motel is a fact of public record. The recreational vehicle is a photograph that will exist permanently in the archive of American celebrity. What remains is the woman inside the story. 51 years old. 5 children. A rental in Calabasas. An IRS debt. A divorce finalized the same November the tax story broke, because even the timing had no mercy left. And a woman who has said, in various ways, that she is not done. Who appears at events. Accepts work. Stays visible. Because visibility for her is not vanity, it is oxygen. It is the thing that converts, sometimes, into the rent check that keeps the Calabasas address from becoming another parking lot. She is working. She is fighting. She is doing the thing that daughters of great men so often have to do, learning late, in public, without a net, how to survive in a world her father never actually prepared her for. Even though preparing her was what he spent his life believing he was doing. Tori Spelling did not fail because she was careless, though carelessness was part of it. She did not fail because she was spoiled, though the Spelling manner made spoiling almost structurally inevitable. She did not fail because she lacked talent, because the decade she built under her own name, not just her father's, proves otherwise. She failed, in the deepest sense, because the floor Aaron Spelling built was so solid, so permanent, so total, that she never learned what standing on her own ground actually required. That is not a scandal. That is a tragedy. And the difference between those two words matters enormously. A scandal implies fault. A tragedy implies forces larger than a single person's choices. Forces set in motion before she was old enough to understand what was being built around her, and what would happen when it was gone. The bowling alley. The gift wrapping room. The acting lessons at 6. The role on the show. All of it given with love, genuine, enormous, Aaron Spelling love. And none of it accompanied by the one lesson that might have changed the trajectory of everything that followed. This will not always be here. And when it is gone, you will need to know how to stand without it. He never said that. Or if he did, the walls of the manor absorbed the words before they could land. And so his daughter arrived at 51, at motel rooms and parked vehicles and IRS filings and a divorce settlement with no support. Still learning, in real time, in full public view, the lesson her father's love had made it impossible to teach her earlier. What do you do with a grief like that? Not the grief of losing the money, though that grief is real. But the grief of loving the person who left you unprepared. Of understanding, late and with painful clarity, that the greatest act of provision in your life was also, in some profound way, the greatest act of deprivation. She has not resolved it. You can hear it in the way she speaks about her father, with love that is total and uncomplicated in one breath, and with something quieter and unfinished in the next. The hope she mentioned. The word she chose carefully. Do you believe I can do this? The will said what it said. The manor went to candy. The $800,000 arrived. And Aaron Spelling, the man who had built universes for a living, who had shaped the fantasy life of an entire nation, who had given his daughter acting lessons at 6 because he could and because he loved her, was gone. Beyond reach. Beyond revision. Beyond the possibility of a conversation that might have changed the answer. In November of 2025, two things happened at once. Her divorce from Dean McDermott was finalized. No spousal support. Shared custody of the 4 minor children. 18 years of marriage closed. And the IRS debt was confirmed publicly, officially, in the way that tax obligations eventually surface, regardless of how long avoidance has been maintained. Two endings on the same calendar page. As if the universe, having been patient for a very long time, had decided to consolidate. She is in Calabasas now. A rental home. An address. A stability. A place that is not a parking lot. Her income floats somewhere between $3,000 and $75,000 a month, depending on which projects materialize, which appearances are booked, which version of her visibility converts into something payable. That range, that vast, anxious range, is itself a portrait of where she stands. Not secure. Not stable. But not finished. So what does the story of Tori Spelling actually mean? It means that wealth and preparation are not the same thing. And that confusing them is a mistake with a very long payment schedule. It means that love expressed entirely through provision teaches a lesson that looks like security, and functions like dependency. It means that a name, even a name as powerful as spelling, even a name that opens doors in Hollywood without a knock, does not transfer. Cannot be inherited. Has to be rebuilt from scratch by the person who carries it. And it means something about fathers and daughters and money and what gets passed down in families, not just the financial inheritance, but the emotional one. The beliefs about what you deserve. The assumptions about what will always be there. The gaps between what was given and what was needed that no estate attorney has ever found a way to document. Candy Spelling sold the manor in 2011 for $85 million. She lives with an estimated fortune of more than $600 million. The manor belongs to someone else now. The bowling alley belongs to a different family. The gift wrapping room has almost certainly been repurposed into something more practical, more ordinary, more suited to a world that does not have a permanent staff to maintain its fantasies. And the girl who grew up inside all of it, the girl who received acting lessons at 6, who played Donna Martin for a decade, who inherited $800,000 from a $600 million estate, who slept in a recreational vehicle with her 5 children in a parking lot in Ventura County, is 51 years old. And still standing. Barely. Imperfectly. Without the floor her father built. But standing. What do you think Aaron Spelling believed he was doing, protecting his daughter or underestimating her? Leave your answer in the comments. Because in a story this complicated, there is no version of events that does not deserve an argument. And if you have ever loved someone by giving them everything, or been loved that way yourself, you already know the question has no clean answer. Some inheritances cannot be counted. Some costs cannot be calculated. And some questions, the ones that live between a father and his daughter, between a palace and a parking lot, between a will and a hope, will never fully close.